multiple patents on the cooks, this company is changing the drone industry with their unique drone-in-a-box solutions, making these aircrafts truly and completely autonomous. Let me introduce Dronehub. Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Builder Nation. Today, we are joined by Vad Melnyk, CEO and founder at Dronehub. Welcome, Vad. Thank you very much for being here with us today. Could you please introduce yourself a bit?
Hi, thanks for having me. Sure. So, for most people which are not familiar with drones, they don't think about the charging, right? Because you usually use the drone for like 20, 30 minutes and then that's all. But for industrial use cases, you need autonomous drones. And that's the problem because the typical industrial drone flies maybe 20, 30, sometimes 40 minutes. And then you need a human operator, the person, honestly, just a protein interface, which will take control over the drone, land it, change the battery to a new one so the drone can fly for the next 30 minutes. And what we are doing, we are building drone agnostic docking stations where any drone can land, recharge its battery or swap it with the new one to fly for the next 30, 40 minutes. And with a network of such docking stations, the drone can fly 24/7 autonomously. So that's the basic idea.
Thank you very much. Honestly, it's amazing. I have a bunch of questions ready to go. But before that, before we jump into Dronehub, I wanted to dive a little deeper into your own history, Vad, because I find it incredible that you were chief of unicorn division at Microsoft, which is basically that you were searching for cool startups to help accelerate. How do you go from that position to having your own drone startup?
So first of all, I started working with robotics when I was 15, because I was born in Ukraine. I was born in Ukraine when I was 15. I had a chance to go and study in high school in the US, Minnesota. Best place on earth, except the weather.
Here it's pretty cold, right?
Yeah, it is. But anyways, I was accepted to the robotics academic club at high school, and it turned out to be one of the best in the world. In 2010, we won like 6 or 7 national robotics competitions with that team, and we won the 3rd place at the World Robotics Championship in St. Louis, Missouri. So after that, when I came back to Ukraine, I thought, okay, maybe I can do something a little bit better than others. So I created the first robotics team in Ukraine, and we won the 3rd place at the European Robotics Championship. So like I'm super nerdy. I started programming when I was like 12 probably. So you know, when I was accepted to the university in Poland on the first year, I started to build my own different tech products like intelligent guitar, which can teach other people how to play the guitar and so on. And then Microsoft approached me and said, "Hey, do you want to join us?" And I said, "Yeah, sure, why not?" So I joined them first as Microsoft student partner. That's a position where you actually don't get paid, but it's very interesting because you travel all over the world, you tell about Microsoft technologies, you go to the parties, you meet a lot of interesting people. And then they offered me a position because at that time I was like, they saw that I'm super technical, nerdy, but I can also explain those technical things in a simple way. So they offered me the position in Poland to start building their startup division, which will support the best tech startups with their Microsoft Azure cloud, with their network of investors, just to help them raise faster. And everything was like super cool. I love the position. I love the responsibilities. The only problem that the name of the whole program really sucked because it was something like Microsoft Technical Evangelist Startup something. It was like super stupid name. And I said, guys, can we name it Unicorn Division? And they said, no, why? And I said, honestly, because I want to have on my business card Chief of Unicorn Division. So this head of Microsoft Poland didn't really agree on that. So I had to call the head of Microsoft CE, Central Eastern Europe, and had a pretty long call with him trying to explain why this name is better. actually, he agreed. So my business card, like that's one of the best things in my life. It looked great because it was Vad Melnyk, Chief of Unicorn Division at Microsoft, and our logo was a cat riding the unicorn with lasers from his eyes. So that was like super crazy. But anyways, that was a great position. We supported a lot of startups from Poland and Central Eastern Europe by providing them with 100K grant for Microsoft Cloud, by giving them access to Microsoft venture capital portfolio. So we have pretty successful success stories. And in parallel, I was building my first company, which was an enterprise consulting company in the field of robotics, Internet of Things, and drones. And after a year and a half, it started growing so fast that I just had to come to Microsoft and say, hey, I need to say goodbye. It's time to do something on my own. And this is how I started like focusing 100% on my own business.
Wow, that is a roller coaster of amazing. It's an amazing journey. I love how the young people were finally getting to these big corporations and adding just a little flavor of humor there, right? Like the Chief of Unicorn Division. It's amazing. Thank you very much for that. Now you mentioned already that you were with the robotic team. You have gotten into a lot of you won a lot of competition. You also have been in a lot of a lot of things like Ford, 2505, 30, 30. We're gonna touch those later on. It's amazing. The journey is amazing. Now I definitely want to jump straight into the drone itself. Well, it's not the drone, but the drone in a box. Right? Could you?
Sorry, can you repeat please? Because I'm losing your voice. I don't hear you. Actually, right now I don't hear you at all.
Better now.
Yes, it's
Thank
way
you.
better.
Oh yeah, I think this is not working right. Anyways, I was saying that for all of us who might not really be aware of how it works, could you please give us the overview of the drone in a box concept?
Sure, of course. So, like, first of all, let's talk a little bit about car industry. Like, my philosophy is that drones are in the exact same position like car industry 100 years ago. And if you think about cars 100 years ago, they were not competitive to horses on the long distances because like when you go outside of the city, you don't have charging infrastructure, you basically cannot go anywhere. And the exact same situation right now is with the drones. However, most of the industry which is building those drone in boxes, there are a few other companies which is doing that and they're doing a great job. Like I'm not telling that we are the best, but we have the whole different approach because again, we have different cars. We have SUVs, family cars, sport cars. The cars are designed for specific tasks that they perform, right? But the charging infrastructure is exactly the same for every single car. The gas car. The only thing we do is we decide should we fuel it from the left side or from the right side. That's all. And we do exactly the same with drone in the boxes. The whole industry went into the concept where they build their own closed ecosystem, their own drones, their own docking station, their own software. What we decided, what we want to do, we decided we want to focus on the drone agnostic docking stations because my mission, my goal, what I really want to do is build a standard for any drone manufacturer to make their drones fully autonomous. And like the very simple concept of that is we provide the drone manufacturers with a special small device that they install on their drone, connect to their computer, connect to their battery, and basically that's a whole integration part. And then we program the docking station accordingly. So when the drone is landing, it recognizes what type of the drone it is. So it adjusts the landing path accordingly, and the drone lands precisely on that landing path. Then the docking station works as a shelter, it closes, and the drone either recharges the battery or replaces it with a new one, because there are some missions where the drone needs to fly basically 24/7, so you need to replace batteries very quickly. And this docking station is basically it's like a combination of the garage and charging station, and that's all. So like getting into more technical details, these docking stations have something like climate control, because you work with batteries and with electronics, and for both of them the ideal temperature is 17 degrees Celsius, which I'm not pretty sure how much in Fahrenheit. I'm still getting used to that. But anyways, it's, you know, docking stations can be placed in different places, where, let's say in Czech Republic or Minnesota, where it can be -40, super cold, or +50 like in Saudi Arabia, right? And if the electronics basically cannot work for a long time, and batteries cannot work for a long time in those weather conditions. That's why docking stations like ours usually have the climate control inside, so they maintain the perfect 17 degrees and 40 degrees of how we say it in English, humidity, the 40 degrees of humidity, so the electronics and the batteries can work longer. Then we have something like fire protection system, because probably you've seen those videos on the internet where EVs like Tesla get on fire, and basically it's impossible to distinguish that fire. Then you just need to wait. And
Right.
drones use exactly the same batteries. They're smaller, but they exactly the same technology. And there's a very rare chance that the battery can get on fire inside the docking station, right? We never had this, but probably sometime in the future that will happen. So we have a patented solution which just, you know, encapsulates the broken battery and makes sure that it doesn't hurt the electronics inside and the whole docking station. And we have like this a lot of small adjustments that were built over the years, over the last 7 years, that just make sure that this docking station is fully autonomous. Charging station, which you can place in the desert, you can place next to the Niagara Falls, you can place in the city center, and it will work. And the drone will land precisely 10 out of 10 times. This is actually also like part of our intellectual property, is how the drone needs to land precisely. Because the whole concept of autonomous docking station is, if it starts 10 times, it needs to land 10 times, right? And preferably in the exactly same position. So like when you think about drone agnostic, and there are different drones, like we're integrated with traditional multi-rotors, we're integrated with autonomous electrical helicopters, we're integrated with hybrid machines which can drive, fly, and swim, and all of them use different technologies. And to create a software which will allow those drones to autonomously and precisely land was a masterpiece in its own. So it took us multiple years, but right now that's why we're so different on the market. We can enable any drone to be truly autonomous.
Right, and actually that does spark a question to me, because I mean, as a drone user myself, just for pictures and stuff, the calibration experience of it is actually pretty manual in every sense, right? Like you have to literally grab the drone, calibrate it to your surroundings, and then take off a landing is also it's not always accurate, right? So in the software side, how do you actually make sure that without any sort of intervention, how do you make sure that those 10 takeoffs become 10 landings without fail? Like, do we have to do any sort of calibration extra? Does it do continuous calibration? How does it work?
Yeah, that's a great question. So one thing that needs to be mentioned, we always provide drone manufacturers with a companion computer. Some of them already do have it, and companion computer, just for you to understand, it's like a Raspberry Pi, industrial Raspberry Pi, which you connect to a flight controller, which does high-level processing, mission execution, video transmission, and all this more intelligent stuff. And we provide drone manufacturers with our own companion computer. And this device is responsible for a few things. First of all, drone calibration, which is very important, and then communication with our cloud, and then precise landing. And precision landing, in our case, is the combination of 3 different technologies. First of all, it's GPS RTK, which is already precise enough, and it's also supports with calibration. And for people who are not familiar with RTK, RTK is real-time kinematics, and it's just a more precise version of the GPS. So it can give you up to 1 centimeter precision. And at the height of about 20 to 30 meters, which would be 60 to 90 feet. I know that already.
More or less.
More or less. It switches to the radio beacon which uses the triangulation method, so the drone gets perfectly on the center of the landing pad. And the technology that we use, those radio beacons, they are super precise. They work in all weather conditions. They work in heavy snow, they work in rain, they work in mostly, let's say not all the weather, most of the weather conditions. It works 99.9% of the time. And then we use a lot of machine learning, because if you think about the drones, you cannot basically program an algorithm which will allow precision landing to be written as a typical software. It needs to use neural network because there are multiple parameters which dynamically change over time. And some of them are something like weather conditions, like humidity, wind, KP level. I'm not sure how to say it properly in English, but it's the level of magnetic activity of sun. It also impacts the precision of the drone because it impacts the GPS and magnetic sensor inside the drone. So there are more than 50 different parameters which we consider when we adjust the drone parameters in real time for precision landing. And then on top of that, as a backup, we always have the visual based landing, which is basically a QR code and the camera on the drone. In case all of those previous technologies fail, we still have something which will allow the drone to land. So this is basically how our precision landing works.
All right, it's amazing. I mean, it's a whole combination of a lot of stuff. It's great. Thank you for sharing that. Now, I wanted to circle back very quickly to what you mentioned, which is that the drones. I mean, the idea is that they operate in pretty much every weather, right? From super frosted places to really hot places, right? How does the maintenance look for the Dronehub and for the products, like in all of these different places of the world and all of these weathers?
Sure, that's a good question. And this is the main reason why we are drone agnostic, because if we were to focus on our own drones, we would have to limit ourselves for one, maybe two different use cases. But there are different companies in the world that are doing very specific drones. Like, for example, recently we integrated with the company which is manufacturing unmanned electrical helicopters. Those are like about 2 meters large, but the cool stuff, they were designed specifically for seashores and high winds. So they can stand winds up to 20 meters per second, which is about, let's see, 70 kilometers per hour. That's like 50 miles per hour wind. That's huge. And right now we have a lot of business cases where we need drones like that. So we just approached those guys and said, hey, do you want to make your drones autonomous? And from the service perspective, the docking station by itself, it doesn't really need a lot of maintenance. We don't use anything which is not electrical. Let's keep it like that. So, and we use the components designed specifically to work without intervention for a long time, because when we were a small startup, we use the components which were the cheapest, right? And you can build a docking station which costs you, let's say, $20,000 instead of $40,000, but then over the next year you need to pay like $50,000 for maintenance cost. But right now our docking stations are designed specifically to withstand all those different weather conditions and be irresistible. We have few interesting use cases where the docking stations are installed on the borders of the countries where there is no electricity, no internet except satellite communication, and people get there once every 6 months, and they still operate. The bigger issue is the drone, because in the drone, the batteries usually need to be replaced like every 200 to 300 full cycles, which means like every 6 months. One of the ways how we solve that, as I mentioned, with some drone manufacturers, we did battery swapping system. And inside the docking station, we have multiple batteries, and the robotic arm just changes them with the new one every flight. So with that, we don't have to change batteries so often. But then there are also drone regulators, motors, propellers, and those are the things that need to be changed once in few, I would say 5-6 months, depending on the drone. Like it's all speculation, depending on the drone, how often you fly, what are the weather conditions. But the good thing that we are, I'm the super nerdy guy. I love to get as many data as possible. Probably that's why I love ChatGPT so much. And then I love analyzing the data. So we pretty much take telemetry data from every single thing we can do on the docking station and on the drone, and then we analyze it and we try to do some predictive maintenance. I would not say that it works yet, but it will sometime in the future. But for the basic components like the drone regulator, drone motor, usually we can say when it's going to break, and we can send the team to replace and fix it before.
That's great. So, I mean, I understand that the whole concept is sort of just set it up and forget about it, which is, it's amazing.
Exactly. Like my goal is to stop help our customers to stop thinking about drones as complex machines, because when you talk to the customer and they, okay, so this is the thing that is going to fly. So we need an operator. So what are the requirements? So we need to hire like probably 10 new people to serve it. And we say, no, guys, this is a flying camera, which you don't have to carry at all. It just brings you reports on the data that it collects automatically, so we can make better decisions. Stop thinking about this as a drone, thinking as a report generator.
And actually, that is one question that I had prepared over here. What kind of industries really take advantage of these autonomous 24/7 monitoring of data collection, and what kind of data collection is it oriented towards?
Okay, so there are 3 most popular use cases, at least for me. First is like pretty straightforward, is security and inspection. So one of the most popular use cases, there is a, let's say, a huge territory, a factory, and it's equipped with sensors which react on the brakes. When somebody tries to brake, the sensor sends an alarm. And we had a few customers. One of them is from Poland, the largest oil and gas company from here. And they had a huge factory here in Poland. And the average reaction time on the accident was, the average reaction time was 11 minutes. That's a lot. That's a lot.
Okay.
So then we installed the docking station, integrated it with the drones. And in case when one of the sensors alarmed, the drones flew out of the docking station, and with a speed of 120 kilometers per hour, just flew to the place where was the accident, or the sensor reacted, and started filming with the HD camera what is going on. And the guy in the security center just took a look and decided if it's a false alarm or should he continue inspecting what is happening. And with that, we decreased the average reaction time to 1.5 minutes. So like 8 times.
Wow.
8 times. Yeah.
8 times.
So this is one of the use cases, and it's super popular, especially for large oil and gas mining companies. We are growing right now really like unpredictably fast in South America, where there are a lot of mining companies, and they have pretty similar use cases. The other one, which I love the most, is railway and linear inspections. So about 2 years ago, a very large railway company from Europe approached us and said, guys, so we have 12,000 people. We call them the walkers. Those are people that go every single day in a pair of 2 and inspect the condition of the railway. Could we install your docking stations along the railway, like let's say every 40, 50 kilometers, so the drone can fly and take the images of the railway automatically and send it to our command and control center? And so, yeah, sure. So we did a POC, it worked well. And then they approached us and said, hey, can you write an AI system that will detect those 16 different types of anomalies automatically? And at that time, we've been a small startup. So, we've been trying to make every customer happy. I'm not saying that we are not doing this right now, but at the time, every customer was like a huge deal breaker for us.
Yes.
And we said, of course. so
easy.
Exactly. So this is the way how we started building our AI capabilities. And this is like a huge part of our business right now. And for about a year and a half, we've been building a neural network which can detect those 16 different types of anomalies on the railway track. And right now, we just finished the environmental test. We had the inspection from the independent company, which analyzed the algorithm, the results, everything, and proved that it's not fake, that it's actually working. And potentially this hardware plus the docking stations, the drones, and the software can save hundreds of millions of dollars for the railway company. Because just imagine how much money do they pay for 12,000 people every single month?
Yeah, I mean, it's a huge difference. It seems sort of futuristic, if you ask me, which is honestly amazing. So thank you very much for sharing all of that. Now I want to move to something a little different, which is before we started recording, you mentioned that you had some pretty exciting news to share with us. So please just let them out right now.
That's like my experience. So I really wanted to share it because the past 2 weeks for me and my whole team were like super, for my sales team, were like super crazy. And if you ask me about the major problem in my business, it would be the long sales cycle and the huge problem with training our sales team, because it needs to be like super technical. So our bottleneck is sales. I mean, amount of leads that we can work on a certain period of time, not the manufacturing. So if you check our CRM, it would have right now about 150 leads, which we didn't even have time to open and answer and write the email and answer the customer question. So because I'm a nerd and because I'm the software engineer, a few months ago, I thought, okay, that might be a good idea to use large language model like ChatGPT and teach it on our internal company data about docking stations, about drones, users stories, user journeys, what we did, what we can do, basically everything, to structure everything, and then teach the AI what we as a company can do.
Right.
So I did it. It took me 2 months to write a prototype. And 2.5 weeks ago, I integrated that piece of software with our CRM. And I put those 160 leads, which we had in the pipeline, to that algorithm. And my mistake was that in that emails that ChatGPT was answering, I asked ChatGPT to insert the link to my calendar. So, and since last Monday, it's been crazy time, because right now I'm having like on average 11 new sales calls per day. So for the past 7 days, I had more than 80 calls with new customers. And just for you to understand like how huge difference that is, before I integrated ChatGPT, it usually took a good sales person from our team 40 minutes to answer an email, because it's super technical. You need to consult the tech team if it's doable or not. So like a good salesperson does it in 40 minutes, the average 1 hour. So basically during the day, you can answer maybe 8 emails, 10 at best. And now it answered all 160 in 5 minutes. So
wow. I mean, I think that is the perfect combination for CEO and software engineer, right? Like right on the sweet spot. It's amazing.
Exactly. So like, honestly, I've just talked to our sales team today and with our investors, and we can throw all our financial projections for this year to garbage, because like we could easily make 5 times more in sales and revenue this year because we integrated ChatGPT into our pre-sales. And probably that's the bad thing, but we can also fire the whole pre-sales team.
Are you using that also in your expansion for the US?
Yes.
That's amazing. I honestly want to ask you, but I'm afraid to ask, how do you plan to keep, supply chain and procurement in check with all of this expansion and growth coming? I mean,
business is moving from bottleneck to bottleneck and try to solve it. So right now we probably would have bottleneck in delivering, manufacturing. So that would be a good problem to solve. We received a grant from the European Commission about a year ago for $3.5 million to build our own manufacturing facility. So right now it's still in progress, but our headquarters in Europe is in a city called Rzeszów. And you probably have never heard about the city, but if you would be from the aviation sector, you would be definitely familiar with the city because it's the heart of the European aviation valley. And the companies like Boeing, Airbus, Lockheed Martin, all of those like aviation large names, they are headquartered there. And our office is also there. And there are like thousands, maybe not thousands, hundreds of companies which do manufacturing for aviation and drones. So that's why we can be pretty sure that our supply chain can keep up with the sales process. So, and you know, because we are fundraising right now, it was just Deo ex machina, something unexpected and positive great thing that happened, and we can just go to our investor and say, "Hey, guys, we can sell 5 times more." That's crazy.
Who's gonna say no, right? I mean,
Exactly.
It's amazing. Well, I'm glad that everything is sort of keeping up the pace. It's super exciting to see where you're gonna get with all of this new, with all of this growth. But now I believe that Vad, we are pretty much at the end of this interview. But before, I believe it's first of all, I want to say it's been an amazing interview. I've learned so much about drones. I love it. But now, poaching a little bit into your CEO brain. Now, you're also a Forbes 25 and 25, Forbes 30 under 30. You've been a finalist in multiple competitions. You've been a guest speaker in plenty of events. What advice do you have for any young entrepreneurs, for any young engineers, for any young people out there who might be starting their own journey?
Okay, that would be a very short advice, but that's an advice that my great friend Joseph Passafaro, which created the robotics team in high school in Pearl Lake, Minnesota, gave me 12 years ago. And that advice would be: the world belongs to those who show up. That's the most important thing you need to know, because no matter if you create the best technology in the world in your garage, but you cannot sell it and the world doesn't see it, then it doesn't matter. So show what you build, make the world to learn about that, and then you can win it. That would be my advice.
I love it. It's actually so encouraging. Thank you very much for that. I believe honestly, Vad, that is the perfect way to finish this episode. It's been amazing. It's been super insightful. I could remain here talking another 30 minutes and more, but I mean, we have to. I know you have a trip to prepare for. So Vad, thank you very much for being here with us, sharing your experiences, sharing your thoughts. Where can we find you and where can we find Dronehub? Do you have any social media handles?
Of course. It's Dronehub AI without dots, and I am Vad Melnyk, so it would be really easy to find.
Sounds good. Everybody, go follow this guy around, because I mean, your Instagram personally, I really like it. There are a lot. You go to a lot of places. It's amazing. So thank you very much for that. Remember, guys, that you can find more information, interesting articles, and interviews directly on our website, controlhub.com/builder-nation. We're gonna love to hear from you. Thank you very much for being part of this community. We're gonna see you the next episode. And Vad, thank you very much for being here with us today. We were so lucky to have you.
Thank you.
When building the future is your priority, tedious procurement processes should be last on your list. The problem is that purchasing data is scattered across spreadsheets, receipts, emails, and messages. Tracking it all sucks and makes it easy to commit mistakes. Introducing the Control Hub Way, the all-in-one purchasing software for hardware companies. Buying parts, services, or office supplies? Submit a quick purchase request to buy from your list of approved vendors, or buy from a new provider. Buying from approved vendors is even easier. Import your shopping cart directly into your purchase request using our checkout integrations. When the order is ready, submit it for approval. We'll ping all pre-designated approvers both via Control Hub's website, email, and Slack notifications for a faster turnaround. If you need a PO, we got you. Generate it in one click. Online purchase? Boom, virtual card. Do an automatic 3-way match, pay invoices, and sync everything live with QuickBooks or NetSuite. Purchasing just got a lot easier. Control Hub. Get back to building.